Hey everybody, this is Matty here with Altcoin Buzz. Hope all you soldiers out there in the Altcoin Buzz army are having a great day. And we're going to take a look at the latest news, beginning with Daniel's article, Coinbase to add ZRX, 0x in the near future. Now guys, I got to fight my tendencies as a Canuck here to call this ZRX, so I'm going to do my best, but just in case, there's the disclaimer. So there have been all these rumors circulating recently about ZRX being listed on Coinbase since about December of 2017. Now you have the CEO of Coinbase that's retweeted some of these posts about 0x, and the thing is that there have been no ERC20 tokens that have been listed on Coinbase just yet. So this would be a first. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, it's beyond just the CEO's supposed interest in 0x. What you have is a development in the world of SEC auditing. And you have both ZRX and Coinbase that have filed for SEC auditing in the same period within 2 weeks of each other. And what's significant about that, and that's, by the way, Security and Exchange Commissions in the US, what's significant is that they are the only two companies in all of the crypto world that are up for an SEC regulation. What's also interesting, and this is a great piece of sleuthing here done by Daniel, is that ZRX or OX, so, and by the way, you can link to their SEC filings right here on altcoinbuzz.io. What's also very interesting, and as pointed out by Daniel, is that their headquarters are really almost within throwing distance of each other. So you got to believe that the 0x people are speaking to the Coinbase people. Maybe they're grabbing a couple of power lunches, a few times a week, but they really are neighbors here in the San Francisco area. It's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on this because it does seem like there may be some legitimacy to those rumors. We're not saying anything, but could be. You never know down the line. If you'd like to learn more about ZRX, 0x, you can do so by checking out this video. It's a very in-depth examination of the project produced by Steve from a couple months ago, and I'd encourage you all to check it out. Do also be sure to leave a comment for Daniel for this great article. Moving on to an article by Deanna from today. UNICEF wants your computer power to mine cryptocurrency donations. So this is a really ingenious idea here as I see it. And essentially, so UNICEF, which is the United Nations Children's Fund, has always been in the habit of collecting donations for the impoverished of the world, for children and mothers living in unfortunate circumstances. And UNICEF Australia here has this site that they call the Hopepage. And what they're asking, they're essentially encouraging you, they're asking your permission to tap into your computer's processing power in order to mine for cryptocurrency. And that's sort of in lieu of donating. And you can start with a 20% commitment of your processing power that then maxes out at a peak of 80%. So I think this is a great way of them leveraging the volume, the traffic that they get on their website, maybe redirecting people to this Hope page and really reaching out to individuals in a rather passive way, because it doesn't take all that much to agree to this and to lend your unused processing power to something that can generate revenue for them. So it says here that they're going to be exchanging the crypto earned for fiat, which they will then donate. This seems like an intelligent adaptation to me on the part of UNICEF, and it strikes me as a win-win for somebody that doesn't really care one way or another, or that maybe isn't using that processing power. I think it's an easy thing to agree to, and it helps to deliver funds to those that need it more than individuals like us, I suppose. So for more information and for some instructions on this initiative, you can check out their website, which we will link to in the description. Be sure to leave Deanna a comment as well. In an article here from yesterday by Zach, so Hong Kong's FSTB, their Financial Services and Treasury Bureau, it claims that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency pose low risk of financial crime compared to fiat. So this is something that I think we've all kind of known. That's always been the hunch, because all of the FUD attacks, they like to point to crypto as being, part of the digital black market. They like to have these negative connotations that they drum up. But the fact of the matter, guys, is that if you're laundering money, if you're trying to, use funds for illicit purposes, think of cash. I mean, do criminals not use cash? versus something like crypto, which offers transparency, accountability, traceability. If you're sitting down with a financial forensics expert and you're sweating under the heat lamp, are you going to be more concerned if you used cash or if you use crypto for your nefarious goals? I think there's always a trail with crypto. If you know what you're doing and if you are somebody that's technologically savvy, then you're really able to track some of the major transfers. And I think that is an advantage versus a lot of the other currencies in the world, just about any other currency that you can name. So the FSTB has recognized that. And I think what's interesting, well, just to read the beginning here. So the FSTB has released a report on money laundering and terrorist financing risk assessment. This report comes amongst a pressing citywide debate on whether the authorities are adequately combating financial crime. So this is really interesting because the report talks about the risk of cryptocurrencies. It compares them to the risk of laundering with traditional fiat. And so since 2013, police began to monitor cryptocurrencies. And since then, they've only received 167 Bitcoin-related reports. Most of these reports have been to do with ransomware. However, they do not include drug or smuggling amongst these numbers. So very cool. And what I think is also an interesting piece here to observe as Zach goes on to write. So the argument of crypto crime is often cited against cryptocurrency. However, the government in Hong Kong assesses the stored value asset risk of PayPal or MasterCard to be much higher than that of crypto. That means fiat is considered more of a money laundering and terrorism risk in Hong Kong. I think, of course, as a criminal, you'd prefer cash. It's not traceable. It's anonymous. So this is a little bit of positive news in the media because that's traditionally been an avenue of attack. And I'm happy to see this, and I'm happy to see Zach cover it. Please do leave him a comment if you have your thoughts. We're also going to link to some of the original reporting that was provided by Forbes. Now, on the flip side of that report, we have another article here by Diana who writes about Japan's FSA, their Financial Services Authority. It pressures exchanges to stop the trading of privacy-focused altcoins. So on the flip side of everything that we just discussed, the traceability, the accountability, the transparency of crypto, a lot of these privacy coins are obviously very important, such as Dash, such as Zcash as I'd call it, and Monero. And the thing about Japan in particular, they note that these particular privacy coins are gaining increased popularity and they're gaining traction with, unfortunately, criminals and hackers. And the thing about Japan, the context is that you have to remember in January, Tokyo-based Coincheck experienced a hack, which resulted in the theft of 58 billion yen, that's over 500 million US dollars, of cryptocurrency from that particular exchange. And the hacking of Coincheck is considered one of the world's biggest crypto heists. And I believe actually that it's also considered really just one of the world's biggest heists, period. $500 million. So this is a weird dichotomy that we have here, because on the one hand, we do want to push the traceability, the accountability of crypto, and the technology supports that. On the other hand, you do have the privacy coins, which seem to be gaining in popularity. We don't want that to be the kind of thing that draws too much heat or too much attention from those unscrupulous individuals that would give crypto a bad name. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is balanced going forward. But just to summarize at the end here, currently there is no official ban which prohibits holding or trading privacy coins in Japan. And many investors remain optimistic about the future, as do I. Great article. Be sure you leave Deanna a comment. And if you want to link again to some of the reporting by Forbes, we'll provide a link in the description. CRYPTODAD, Mr. Giancarlo, speaks on Bitcoin regulation and is he retiring? Article here by Chris. So Christopher Giancarlo from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC. You may remember that he was in the news some weeks ago. And essentially he's talking here about the fact that Bitcoin is this weird beast, as are other cryptocurrencies, because you cannot effectively regulate them as a currency, as a virtual asset, or as a security. It kind of blends into all of those categories. It's representative of each, and it's also all of them all at once. And Mr. Giancarlo goes on to discuss the fact that in trying to effect these new regulations, it's very difficult because all of the statutes and all of the rules were really drafted back in 1935 to deal with those big three classes: the currencies, the virtual assets, and the securities. And I think Chris very astutely points out that we want to make sure that we tackle regulation responsibly. We want to make sure people feel safe as US investors increasingly enter the crypto space, but we don't want to over-regulate. We don't want to make it too onerous or too difficult. We don't want to create a headache for people or create disincentives because, and we talked about this the other day, Chris also points it out, if over-regulation becomes a problem, you're just going to have businesses move toward the crypto havens, and you're going to have the Binances of the world focus on Malta, Bermuda, the Virgin Islands, and Belize as a priority before they even consider conducting any kind of business in the US. So if regulatory rules are too draconian, that could be a consequence, and we don't want that. We want the masses to be able to enjoy this, to be able to get into the space, and to be profitable in that space. So Mr. Giancarlo has been I wouldn't say he's been a Bitcoin or a crypto bull, but I think he's been fair and he's been level-headed. And in his Senate hearings, he's had some positive things to say. So many people in the crypto community are supportive of him and tend to respect the way he's conducted himself. So it's unfortunate to see here, he noted that he will not seek reappointment at the end of his term on April 13th, 2019, which may be a little bit unfortunate, but let's hope that his successor is just as open-minded. We have some interesting news, guys. We have the fact that XLM, STELLER, LUMENS, and XVG VERGE are now listed on BITFINEX. So that's a pretty good thing to see. And it's been an interesting April. So for Verge, we'll remember the fact that they announced their partnership with Pornhub, which so many people call overhyped, and maybe it was, but it still garnered exposure. It was still interesting just for the pure fact that it introduced a lot of people to that currency, to that space of crypto that they may not have otherwise heard about. So that was one major development with Verge, and the fact that they worked with TokenPay to deliver a debit card plan with a German bank. They announced that on April 26th. It's been a pretty interesting month for Verge, and now you have this listing on BitFinex. And as far as Stellar Lumens goes, of course, they have their partnership. Really, I think it's a premier partnership in the world of crypto with IBM. And they seem to be developing a niche for themselves among some as a favorite coin and one that people would associate with central banks. That may be something you support. It may not be, but that's kind of in their nature. So I think this is very interesting to see now, the fact that they're listed on BitFinex. And I think it bodes well for them on top of everything else that's been happening. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on them and to see what happens with those two coins. Final piece of news for today, guys. CoinMarketCap celebrates its 5-year anniversary with new features and an iOS app. Article from yesterday by Garrett, and it's hard to believe that our friends at CoinMarketCap are celebrating 5 years already. They've been around since 2013, and they unveiled their 5-year anniversary with some interesting new features. So first and foremost, they have this fancy new logo, very snazzy. I think the idea here is, at least as my interpretation goes, you have the C, you have the M, Coin Market, and then maybe another C, CoinMarketCap. That's looking very sharp. It's a nice new bold logo. They have an updated website. They have a new app for iOS. And to take you all the way back, as Garrett describes here, so back in 2013, the total market cap of all of crypto was in 2013 rather, was $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion. And Bitcoin was sitting here at $135.58. Hindsight is 2020, guys, isn't it? That's quite something. So there were only 7 crypto coins and tokens listed. The only ones that I really recognize are, of course, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Peercoin. Can't say I'm familiar with the others. So 7 total listings, total market cap of $1.6 billion, and Bitcoin was at $135. Well, that's quite something. We wish our friends at CoinMarketCap continued success, another 5 years and more to come as the crypto market continues to grow. And for an in-depth look at some of those new features and some of the new additions to the CoinMarketCap.com website, be sure to swing by altcoinbuzz.io and do check out Garrett's article. Leave him a comment as well, guys. Be sure to follow us, of course, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and Telegram as well. And of course, if you did like this video, my soldiers, then please be sure to leave a thumbs up, leave us a comment, leave us your thoughts, and we'll be checking in again soon. Take care.